So here's a mulberry. This grows in the yard. Here's some rhubarb. Here's some tomatoes. This is some kind of yarrow. Here's some irises, some zinnias. Tomatoes grow here. Some kind of squash. Hostas grow here. Chamomile, tomatoes, basil, zinnias. What does the butterfly like to eat? Here's some castor beans. Oils is good. Supposed to be good for the soil. Some like Japanese turnips. Here's some canna lilies. Okay, so here's some amaranth, some yucca, a cherry tree. See, this has some diseases on it. There's some diseases. You have to cut that back, take that off. If I got something on, you gotta just pluck it off. I go clean off your cherry tree because it got something on it. So, see, what does the, well, I know that's nothing that the, I don't know. So, what does the monarch butterfly like to eat? Here's some amaranth. Here's a butterfly. Sunflowers. There's a black walnut. I have some tulips. Here's some comfrey. Here's some marigolds. What does this little monarch butterfly really like to eat? Well, I know it needs milkweed. Some cannas. Some bees. Some Mexican sunflowers. So I know it needs sunflowers. Yeah, it eats those. Eats some Mexican sunflowers. Here's some tomatoes. So it needs lots of flowers, and it needs to eat a lot of flowers. It zooms around a lot. There's a lot filled with clover eats because it needs it. So the monarch butterfly needs food. Here's a big tooth aspen. I think this is like a swamp maple. It has grapes. So it needs lots of food. This is edible landscaping that the monarch butterfly will eat. So the monarch butterfly is hungry. Needs lots of food, zooms around the yard looking for something to eat. And no one seems to care. So it needs lots of food and that's why it's endangered. See? Some kind of yarrow or tansy. Here's some mint. Needs so much food. Here's some chickens. You can put their eggs in the yard. You can bury them. It's good fertilizer. If you have too many eggs, you can bury them in your yard. Yeah, manure is also good. So the eggs in the dirt helps some black walnuts. Here's some flowers. There's some alyssum. So it needs lots of food. Eats the stuff. So that might be like mustard or something. Don't know because I'm not very expert in mustard. This might be mustard, but I'm not sure because I'm not an expert on that. I'm not expert on mustards or rashes or something. So this is some Queen Anne's lace. So I need some food. So this is a mullein. They said it's good for your lungs when you have sick lungs, like working on cars. They have bad lungs. It's mullein. Some peaches, some mulberries. Some gooseberries. The rare endangered monarch butterfly needs lots of food, but they don't really care. They don't really care. Here's some echinacea. So here's some mullein for when you're working on your cars, because you were going to keep cars around, but they want to take your cars away, so they think it was to trash your car industry. They want to take it away because it's too decent. Cars were kind of important, but they don't care. They thought they'd just take them from you because they were pretty decent. They didn't care. They think you take away your cars because they were pretty decent. Pretty decent cars, and people want to take them from you. I think. Here's some corn. Here's some corn. Here's some pumpkins. Here's some pumpkins. Here's some pumpkins. Here's some pumpkins. So to have giant pumpkins, you need to put giant pumpkins in. So you have giant pumpkins, you need to have giant pumpkins in there. So if you don't want giant pumpkins, you don't put them in. Here's some kind of squash. See, chicken eggs, the fuel, the dung is good for fertilizer as well. Chickens are good for fertilizer. Here's a pumpkin. If you don't want giant pumpkins, then you don't put giant pumpkins in the ground. First of all, if you don't want giant pumpkins, don't put them in the ground. Don't buy them, don't put them in the ground if you don't want giant pumpkins. But if you want giant pumpkins, you have to buy the seeds and put them in the ground. Okay? But to have monarch butterflies, you have to have things that the monarch butterflies will eat. So if you want giant pumpkins, you have to put giant pumpkins in. If you want monarch butterflies, you have to put monarch butterflies in. I have to put in foods that they eat. These are some foods, they do eat them. Some giant pumpkins, some squash. So to have giant pumpkins, you have to have stuff that the pumpkins want. Like eggs, right? Chicken fertilizer for the pumpkins, right? The chickens are next to the eggs. The eggs and the manure is next to the giant pumpkins. They grow there because they want the eggs and the manure. The giant pumpkins grow there because they want the eggs and manure because they're right next door. So you have to have it. If you want a giant pumpkin, some chickens and eggs and manure for fertilizer. See, to have giant pumpkins and squash, you have to have it in there. To have giant squash and pumpkins, you really have to put them in. So there's some big squash. If you want them, you have to put them in. If you want giant squash, you have to put them in. To have monarch butterflies, you have to have food that the monarch butterfly will eat. Needs the milkweed. To have giant pumpkins, you need to put in giant pumpkin seeds. To have monarch butterflies, you need to have plants that the monarch butterflies will eat. Here's some bees to eat the clover. See, to feed butterflies, you need food that they would eat. They have to have stuff they would eat. And then they want money to sell cars. They want money to have cars around, and they want to take your cars. Yeah, well, they want money for their cars, they want to take them from you. Because cars are a pretty good deal, they want to take your cars from you in general. Because they're pretty decent. Cars are a pretty good deal, and they want to take them from you because they're a pretty good deal.